Hello, this is Greg Deckler, and welcome to Microsoft Hates Greg. All right, so a few videos ago, I created a video where we implemented the Holt-Winters algorithm as a forecasting algorithm that includes seasonality, and we implemented that in DAX. Now, to be clear, should not be doing that in DAX. We were just doing it to see if we could do it. Basically what we did is we recreated the forecasting algorithm that Power BI's line chart uses, and we just recreated that in DAX. Then we could actually use the values that came back from it to do something with them versus we can only see them in a chart. And during this presentation, I mentioned of all the crazy, ridiculous, impractical things that I've done in Power BI, this one takes the cake, right? And just to prove that point, Brian Julius posted a solution. It's like a 6-line R solution for doing Holt-Winters forecasting. You can implement as a step in Power BI and Power Query. Yes, this is completely ridiculous to do, impractical, unless, for some reason your organization does not allow you to use R or something. All right, but it got me thinking about all of the other crazy, impractical, ridiculous things that I've done in Power BI, and what came to mind were this series of blog articles I did on graphing in Power BI. So I did this like 6-part series of graphing in Power BI where we took line equations and we used a bubble chart and we graphed those line equations and that sort of thing. And we did a few different things like the butterfly and like this. I think this is some kind of like Fibonacci thing or whatever, or squares or something. And then we did things like this. We did all these are different equations that you can do. And then we moved on to fractals. So this is the Mandelbrot set, if you will. Then we did the Sierpinski triangle, another fractal. Eventually, we got the bisect fractal, which is kind of like a snowflake type pattern. And eventually, at the end, we did a ray tracer with Power BI, where we generated this image right here. That's a complete lie. Just see if you're paying attention. No, the best we could get done with ray tracing in DAX was this guy right here. We actually can see it's a sphere because this point's closer and these points are farther away. So that's what we did. So, but I might actually end up doing a video series on this. I didn't have the YouTube channel back then. So I think this would be kind of fun to maybe make a video on, one or more of these topics. Certainly some of the fractals and things like that and the ray tracing program. But it got me thinking, like, what else crazy, kind of ridiculous thing could I do with Power BI? And the idea struck me, well, why not? What about an animation? Like, could I, basically treat each XY coordinate as a pixel, and then by changing the colors and doing things like that, could I actually create an animation using DAX and Power BI? So that was the impetus. And then, of course, I'm like, well, what am I going to animate? This is going to be kind of like a flip book animation using the play axis. I'm like, well, why not a volcano? We'll just make a volcano erupt using DAX. So that's what I did. All right, let's get to it. Oh, stop. All right, there we go. Okay, so here is my volcano. Nice thing about a volcano is it's fairly easy to define in terms of its geometry. It's basically 2 lines, right? And it's a top. So, and and anything that falls within that bound is brown. Anything that falls out of that is sky. And then I've got a nice happy clouds here, in my sky and that. So this is the basis, and I'll hit the play button in a minute. We'll make this sucker erupt. But everybody did this back in the their elementary schools probably, right? Somebody built a volcano for science fair and that, and made it erupt with baking soda and all that kind of fun stuff. So I'm like, why not do it in DAX? All right, homage to our childhood. Okay, so then how do you do this? So basically, what you're seeing here is a scatter chart, right? This is a scatter chart visual, and I've got a unique key in here for my values. And the reason I have the unique key is that originally I just had my X non-summed and then my Y not summarized. But the minute you add a play axis, it requires you to sum your X and your Y. So of course, then that is why I have a unique key here, and I'll show you how I generated that. That's to keep every single pixel in every single frame unique. And then I have my legend is my color, and that's what's giving me my color here. Interesting thing about that I discovered is that in your markers section, originally I was going to have like hex codes generated and tie these to the hex codes. Not so much. It doesn't give you the little FX icon for these, so I can't define these dynamically. And I also discovered that if you have, it doesn't allow you to really define more than about 10 in your legend. If you have more than that, then it doesn't allow you to really define those. Because at one point I had like 100, and it was just it only showed me 10. So there you go. So I had 10 colors to work with, and yeah, I couldn't do the colors dynamically. So I basically just numbered the colors 1 through 10, and you can see here the sky is blue. I've got my clouds are white. My volcano is 3, and I'll get into some of the other ones. I have some smoke colors here, and then my lava colors down here. All right, so let's see. Let's check out the DAX. Now the DAX for this wasn't too bad, right? There's not a lot here, actually, and this is the heart of it, right there. So what I'm doing is I generate 1 to 40 for my X, and then 1 to 22 for my Y, which gives me a 40 by 22 screen, if you will, that I can work with. Originally, this was much bigger. I was working with like 160X and then like 90Y, because give me my 16 to 9 ratio that you have for your canvas size. And I was going to have the entire canvas was going to be the visual, if you will. But as you can see here, on here, I've actually has this zoomed 400%, the max. So this is actually a very, very small visual right now on the page. And that was because it was interesting. Like when I first started out, they did 160 by 90, and immediately told me, look, that's too many. I get the little eye icon, if you will, the information icon that says, too many values. And I was only getting about, it was only about like 8 to 10 frames that were being displayed in my play axis. So then I had to shorten that up to about 70 frames, and then that seemed to work for a while. I think I also might have chopped that down to like 80 by 45 at that time, and that seemed like that was giving me about 70 frames. But even that, then once I started adding colors of all things into the visual, and things were changing over time and not remaining like the same color over time, I actually had to, go even less, right? I had to get down to 40 by 22, and I can only have 18 frames. As you can see up at the top, that generates series 1 to 18. That's how many frames I'm generating. So I do a generate, I bring back my index, and I don't actually use that date. I thought I was going to have to use a date in the play axis, but I don't. I could just use index. And then, that generates that table along with my generate of my two generate series that generate my initial XY screen. And I'm adding some columns like size, which again, I don't use. I was doing some experiments with it. Ended up not using it. I may still go back and do something with it and try some more experiments, but yeah, it didn't work out. And then I've got my color, and my color really, at the end of the day, defines the timeline, if you will. If you're thinking about this in terms of animation, so let's kind of focus in more on this color and what's going on down here. So let's zoom in on this. So you kind of have to read this the timeline, bottom up, if you will. So down at the bottom here, I've got my sky and my volcano, okay? And it's really defined, like I said, by, my line function, right? So you can see here, I've got, okay, it's sky if it's greater than 14, or, I have to fill in the sides of my triangle, of my volcano. So this part over here and this part over here. And those are defined by line equations, right? So 14 over 18, which I could have simplified, but that's what it is. Times x is my y. So if it's greater than that, then it's okay to color it blue. Or if the other side, which is minus 14 over 18 times x plus 32 to shove it over, so it hits the y-intercept at 32. So that is it. Now, that defines whether it's something that I want to treat as sky, okay? I have additional if in there, so what I do is I have this ring in between 1 to 40.99, so basically 1 to 41, more or less. If it's less than 40, or y is greater than 18, then it's 1, or less than 18, then it's 1, which means that it's sky blue. So because I only wanted clouds to appear in the top 4 rows. So I've got this y less than 18, so make sure that no clouds appear down below, where I don't want them to appear. And I don't want them to appear very often. And so that's where the whole trunk ran between. It's only appearing for a very small percentage. So then I have an additional if statement. If the index is less than 15, so that's where my eruption begins, then color them 2, and the 2 is the white. Okay. Whereas once the eruption begins, then I'm actually using them as kind of like shooting fireballs. So where the clouds would appear, now it's shooting fireballs coming out. So that is the sky and the volcano. So then basically, if nothing meets any of the criteria, right, becomes the 3 value down there for volcano, which is my brown value. Okay, so the first thing that starts to happen in my timeline is my volcano starts to smoke. Okay, so I'm not going to go into all of this, but I've got it's fairly not complicated really, but basically my smoke is going to occur between frames 3 to 13. So my index is greater than 2 and less than 14. And then I've got some additional criteria on where my smoke is going to appear, and then I've got 2 different colors for my smoke. And one, it's pretty much even, more or less, where it says, okay, if it's 50-50 chance of being one color or another, and that's kind of like my gray and my lighter gray. Okay, so then I wanted to have like the lava be like boiling at the top of the volcano, right? So I have my lava boil, and that starts around frame 7. At frame 7, and it continues to boil, yeah, until the end, more or less. So, and I have very specific range for Y, right? And only want to occur between 15, basically the 15 row. So I could have just put in Y equals 15, but I was playing around with stuff. So I wanted to be able to like have like higher bubbles coming out and things like that. And so then it only wants to occur where the top of the volcano is, right? So only between 18 and 24. Okay. So I'm not sure. Yeah, 18 to 24. That's what I have. Okay, no worries. And so then I wanted to have like lava flowing down the sides of the volcano. And that became a little more complex, because essentially, if you notice also in the smoke, where I have some of the Y components, where it's 22 minus 7 minus index, because I wanted the smoke to come up gradually, right? Frame by frame. The smoke shouldn't just appear. It should start down by the volcano and then, creep up. So I had to do something similar kind of in reverse for the lava flow flowing down the mountain. So there's the code for that, and I won't jump into all of it, and because it's rather boring. But basically, I've got a code in here that allows the sometimes it should be the mountain, sometimes it should be lava. I really wanted it to not be just like a complete lava sheet coming down. I wanted it to be more kind of like rivulets of streams, if you will, of lava coming down. I don't know. You have to see what you think in terms of how well that came out. I'm sure I could do a lot more tweaking and optimizing. But I wanted to spend, I didn't want to spend an entire day on this. I wanted to spend like, maybe like 3 or 4 hours on this, which is what I did. All right, so then the explosion happens in the boiling lava. Let's see, the lava flow starts to occur at frame 11, and goes until the end. And then my explosion happens in frame 14 and goes till the end. And again, same concept where I want the lava to explode out of the top of the volcano and then kind of do this, right? And see it. So that's the code, right? So there you have it. This is the DAX code for an erupting volcano. So I'm sure everybody wants to see it. So let's go ahead and see it. So we will, let's go for it. So we're going to hit start here. This is, I couldn't get rid of this. I can't get rid of this. So it makes the whole experience a little bit less, but you'll start to see the clouds move, and then you'll start to see the smoke rise. You'll start to see bubbling lava up here. The lava will start to come down the mountain, and then it'll explode. So here you go, and let's enjoy. So here's the clouds moving. So smoke starts to come out, comes out, start coming. Oh, lava's starting to boil. Still the smoke's moving. Oh, now the lava is coming down the mountain. And here we have our explosion, and they turn into fireballs. So there it is. And all its 18 frames of glory. The erupting DAX volcano, or the DAX erupting volcano, or the erupting volcano in DAX, however you want to say it. There you have it. Anyway, that is all I had for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Again, we do crazy stuff on this channel, just for no other reason that, hey, did we do that? Sure, let's try it. So there it is, the world's first and probably only, probably ever erupting volcano in DAX. Everyone have a great day, and I'll talk to you next time.